7 signs of a bad MAF. Airflow sensor and how it affects your engine performance. Your car feels different. Not completely broken, but not completely normal either. The engine may hesitate. Idle may feel rough. Acceleration may feel weak. And sometimes, you cannot explain exactly what is wrong. That is what makes MAF sensor problems tricky. They do not always fail suddenly. They slowly affect how your engine runs. The MAF airflow sensor, also called the MAF sensor, has one very important job. It measures how much air is entering the engine. Then your car's computer uses that information to decide how much fuel to inject. If that data becomes incorrect, everything goes out of balance. Too much fuel, too little fuel, or unstable combustion. And once that happens, your engine performance starts to suffer. In this video, I'll show you 7 common signs of a bad MAF sensor. We'll start with the early symptoms, then move to the more noticeable problems, and stay until the end. Because one of these signs is often ignored at first, even though it can slowly damage performance over time. So before you replace random parts, let's go step by step. Sign number 1. Rough or unstable idle. This is usually one of the first signs. When the MAF sensor gives incorrect readings, the engine does not know how much fuel it actually needs, so the idle becomes uneven. Instead of running smoothly, the engine may feel shaky. The RPM may go up and down slightly, or the engine may feel like it is struggling to stay running. This happens because the air-fuel mixture is no longer stable, and idle is where this imbalance becomes most noticeable. If your car feels rough when stopped at a light or idling in place, the MAF sensor is one possible cause. Sign number 2. Engine hesitation during acceleration. You press the gas pedal, but the response is not immediate. There is a delay, or the car feels like it is thinking before it moves. This happens because the engine suddenly needs more fuel when you accelerate. But if the MAF sensor sends wrong data, the computer cannot deliver the right amount. So instead of smooth power, you get hesitation, sometimes followed by a small jerk. This makes the car feel less responsive, and over time, it becomes more noticeable. Sign number 3. Loss of power or weak performance. This is where the problem becomes more obvious. The engine may still run, but it does not feel strong. You may notice slower acceleration, reduced pulling power, or a general feeling that the car is not performing like before. This happens because the engine is not getting the correct air-fuel balance. Without that balance, combustion is less efficient, and less efficient combustion means less power. If your car feels weaker than usual, especially without any other clear issue, the MAF sensor is worth checking. Sign number 4. Engine stalling. This is a more serious symptom. You may start the car and everything seems fine, but after a short time, the engine suddenly shuts off. This can happen because the air-fuel mixture becomes too unstable. If the engine does not get the right balance, it cannot sustain combustion, and that leads to stalling. Sometimes it happens at idle, sometimes while driving slowly, and when it starts happening repeatedly, it becomes a serious problem because it can leave you stranded. Sign number 5. Poor fuel economy. This is one of the most common hidden signs. If the MAF sensor sends incorrect data, the engine may inject more fuel than needed. That means fuel is being wasted. You may notice that you are visiting the gas station more often than before, even though your driving habits have not changed. This happens because the engine is running inefficiently, and when efficiency drops, fuel consumption goes up. Sometimes the change is gradual, but over time it becomes obvious. Sign number 6. Check engine light. Modern vehicles monitor sensor performance. If the MAF sensor starts sending incorrect data, the system may detect it, and that triggers the check engine light. But here is the important part. The light does not always mean the sensor itself is completely dead. Sometimes it is just dirty. Sometimes it is sending slightly incorrect readings. That is why scanning the car is important, because the code can help point toward the real issue. Sign number 7. Engine running too rich or too lean. This is what happens behind the scenes. A bad MAF sensor can cause the engine to run too rich or too lean. Too rich means too much fuel. Too lean means not enough fuel. Both conditions affect performance, and both can create different symptoms. Running rich may cause fuel smell, poor mileage, or black smoke. Running lean may cause weak power, hesitation, or even overheating in some cases. You may not always notice this directly, but over time you will feel the difference in performance. And this is where many small symptoms start to connect. Now here is something important. MAF sensor problems can look like other issues. For example, fuel injector problems, vacuum leaks, or ignition issues. That is why guessing can be expensive. So what should you do first? Start with the basics. Ask yourself, is the idle rough? Does the car hesitate when accelerating? Has fuel economy dropped? Is there a check engine light? Does the engine feel weaker than before? If multiple symptoms appear together, the MAF sensor becomes much more likely. In many cases, a dirty MAF sensor can be cleaned, but it must be done carefully with the correct cleaner because touching or damaging the sensor can make things worse. If cleaning does not help, replacement may be needed. So let's quickly recap. A bad MAF sensor may cause rough idle, hesitation during acceleration, loss of power, engine stalling, poor fuel economy, a check engine light, and incorrect air-fuel mixture. Some of these signs are small, some become serious quickly, and some seem minor at first, but affect performance more and more over time. That is why this problem should not be ignored, because when your engine does not get the right air-fuel balance, everything else starts to suffer. And now I want to hear from you. What symptom did your car show first? Was it rough idle, weak acceleration, poor mileage, or a check engine light? Comment below with your experience. And if enough people mention the same issue, I'll make the next video on that exact problem.